your genitals are theirs. I mean, it's just an act of submission. Imagine, the Nazis just wanted your papers. The TSA wants to grope your daughter's breast. They now have rap videos coming out where women have lesbian love together, and it's really sexy and fun. The TSA grabs you. It's fun. It's cool. This is the ultimate in trashiness. And this is being put out by rapper Sean Paul, just totally mindless for the totally dumbed down, brain dead population out there. Very disgusting article at INFOWARS.com. Rap video glorifies TSA groping is sexy pat-down fantasy. The headline I would have is rap video glorifies TSA sexual assault. And look at that supposed perv in the video getting off on the sexy model. And that's actually how they act. The TSA screener I had in Las Vegas was like smacking his lips and literally could not believe the power he was having. Because he couldn't do this in a park. And there's guys that like to do that. He'd go to jail or people might shoot him. But here, hey, you want to get on your plane? Your testicles are mine. Land of the testicle squeeze, home of the coward, huh? I told you, the new American flag, I want our graphics guys to make it, is just, you've seen that weird thing where they have like chrome testicles hanging off cars now? We have that in Texas. I don't know if you've seen it, folks. It's like the weird long cowboy boots, but you just have that in the blue field and just a hand, and then the stripes are just TSA, TSA. Because, I mean, we ought to embrace our new country. Land of the pot-bellied pervert grabbing her wife and children. There you go. Whatever their fancy is, they like kids, they drag them out, the kids are crying. Get back, family, get back, get back. This is my, what was I told? This is my administrative privilege. When they tell Marcos, the Austin airport, they said, it's time for the pleasure, and pop the glove. You got to mix pleasure with business. Pop. They got the shows out telling you how great it is. There you go. Okay, enough of that brainwashing. Let's move on. You know, they're segueing us from Al-Qaeda, who openly works for the foreign banks, to the domestic extremists. So we'll get a bunch of unsavory idiots with tattoos on their faces who are probably all related to each other. The daughter's the mother there. And they're hiding out in a camp for the end of the world and the war with the Mexicans or whatever. And the feds swoop in and say they had rifles and were training for hand combat. They're terrorists. Away to the FEMA camp with them. I mean, look at that woman. She probably literally can count to 5. I'm sorry. Anyways, continuing here with the news. Don't worry though. It's in Florida where they admit the leader of the white supremacist group as a federal agent, just like Hal Turner. The group figures prominently as a Homeland Security model for assessing U.S. domestic threats and is described by the ADL. That's Farhan Mossad as a racist skinhead group that is active in several states around the country. The Southern Poverty Law Centers actually led these groups along with the FBI. Maybe they could tell us, oh, I told you for 10 years Hal Turner, Sean Hannity's former producer, was a FBI agent. Good old Hal Turner. Of course, people hacked his email, and it was discovered he was a high-level national security asset. So then they burned him and put him in jail because he threatened state judges. And it came out, the feds came and defended him in court and said, he is one of our people. Didn't matter. They still sent him to jail for threatening judges. FBI operative Hal Turner says government urged him to make violent statements, and he has the documents to prove it. Hal Turner admits he worked for the FBI. Hal Turner paid by FBI to make racist, threatening comments so they can then connect it to, hey, I don't want the UN taking my land. Well, you hate black people. Hey, I don't want to be under Agenda 21. Oh, you don't like Hispanics. Hey, I don't want government-run health care. What was the MSNBC talking point for years? If you don't like government-run health care written by insurance companies, then you are a racist. This is how they operate. So these guys were so stupid they didn't know that at any white supremacist camp, roughly, this come out in government documents, half the people are informants or agents, and they almost always lead them, just like in the Mexican supremacist groups, the black supremacist groups. But the difference is with the black supremacists there in Florida, it came out last month, in the Trayvon Martin case. Oh, by the way, they're calling for now a big gun restriction with that and an end to concealed carry because the feds are moving to try to block states' funding if they go with that. So, but the point is, turn out the feds had people implanted with the black groups protesting, calling for violence, advocating it to get a race war going, just like NBC edited the tape of Zimmerman saying he didn't like black people or whatever. Shifting gears away from that Fed patsy they flushed down the old New World Order toiletto, let's move now to Breitbart. If you can't kill somebody or put them in prison, well, you just suicide them, which is the next best thing to killing them, because you really did kill them and the sheeple don't know it. We have the coroner dead, and now we have the top witness to Breitbart's death vanishing. Only a day after Los Angeles coroner released Breitbart's autopsy report, a photographic technician at the coroner's office died suddenly of suspicious causes. And it goes on to report that it looks like that he may have been the first person to actually see him at the scene. He died of natural causes, Bannon said. The family wants the matter put to rest. The WorldNet Daily is beginning to irritate me with suspicious foul play talk. After recruiting the assistance of private investigators, WorldNet Daily found that Lassiter, a 26-year-old witness who saw Breitbart drop dead, is no longer residing at his last known address in California. 3, Breitbart was walking down the apparent distress when he stepped to the curb and fell like a sack of potatoes, he said. He noted that Breitbart's skin color was bright red, which is not typically associated with heart attack victims. And of course, the report goes on, he had dinner with Bill Ayers a month before he died and said he had bombshell information about Obama at communist meetings. And of course, that footage was never released. Some mild garbage was of him endorsing some socialist. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. But we're supposed to ignore that. And it's really gained steam. My idea a few weeks ago to occupy Bilderberg this year, peacefully draw media attention to what's happening, has picked up a lot of steam. Paul Watson has an article at INFOWARS.com, Occupy Bilderberg gathers steam. And it goes on, Alex Jones' call for InfoWarriors to occupy Bilderberg during the upcoming meeting in Chantilly, Virginia, is gathering steam, with activists heeding the call to protest the clandestine annual confab involving the globe's top power brokers. Big Facebook pages and others have been set up. Find out more at InfoWars.com, and we will see you there to peacefully have thousands there to force mainstream globalist media to cover something they have denied existed. Great job to all the activists out there using startpage.com to Google Occupy Bilderberg. Okay, let me give you now the quote of the day by former president, the late President Harry S. Truman, who said the buck stops here. Well, he went on to say, all the president is a glorified public relations man who spends his time flattering, kissing, and kicking people to get them to do what they are supposed to do anyway. There you go. The buck does not stop with Obama and Air Force One. We're going to come back with an in-depth interview with Wayne Madsen on new Justice Department revelations of payoffs by Wall Street, Fast and Furious, dead zones in the Gulf, Air Force pilots refusing to fly, big scandals, important information, serious muckraking coming up. But first, I want to give you the speech that Ron Paul gave this Sunday at the Texas Capitol. Tomorrow night, we'll give you Rand Paul. Stay with us. It's InfoWars Nightly News.
There's one congressman in Washington whose refusal to compromise is legendary. My father, Ron Paul.
About the Senate race, but you know there's a still ongoing presidential race in this country. Matter of fact, we're still counting the votes. Matter of fact, we're just starting to count the delegates. And there's been many times that we've been written off, but on occasion now, almost like every day, there is another state that goes our way. Look, it may turn out that we will be the actual winners of Iowa. Not only are we winning a lot of these delegates that were written off in the past, but we're winning a lot of other things too, putting people in the right place, becoming chairman of the Republican Party in the various states. So the revolution is working. We have infiltrated the Republican Party, and we will convert the Republican Party to defenders of liberty. the laws in Washington. It's supposed to be the Congress. But what about the overstepping of their rights in the executive branch? Through the issuing of executive orders. The executive order that has given supposedly authority to the president to assassinate American citizens. We need a constitutional president who will use the executive order in a proper manner to repeal all the executive orders that were misplaced. Executive order written back in 1973. Not too many people have talked about this, and they might not think it's too important. I happen to think it was very important. Unfortunately, or characteristically, maybe it was executed by a Republican president in 1973, and they established the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. Now, that is a totally unconstitutional vehicle for enforcing law. And just last week, I imagine many of you saw, there was a drug bust. They don't know what they were doing. They were suspected of using something a lot safer than alcohol. But there was a SWAT team that went in and grabbed 7 young people on the campus of UC at San Diego. And they threw them all in jail, and then after they sorted out the paperwork, they released 6. And they just forgot about one person and allowed this person to be in prison 5 days, no water, no food, and he was in critical condition, and he was in intensive care for 3 days, and he's going to survive. But then the question is, who's liable for that? Because there's a lawsuit filed, and I think a lawsuit is proper. And there should be a compensation. But I've always had a little trouble with those type of compensations being thrown back on the people. So why shouldn't it be, when people are acting outside the law, outside the Constitution, those individuals who committed those acts that were illegal, why shouldn't they be personally liable for the corruption? A few years ago, when the TSA got even more abusive, I introduced legislation along those lines. Of course, the best way to have taken care of the TSA was to vote against the establishment of the TSA to begin with, and to have voted against the Patriot Act, which gave them so much authority. But my suggestion in this legislation was that a TSA agent can do nothing that you can't do. So if